Welcome back to the Recap Show. On today's episode, we will be talking about the value of viewership, players changing their last names, and we will be joined by special guest Katie Zelem for an athlete to founder interview brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks. Now, let's start the show. Welcome back, Reimaginers. So on this episode, we did a quick pivot and we decided we are going to try a new fan favorite segment.
True.
Red card, yellow card, goal. If you're not new to the podcast, you'll remember that the hot topic last time was around team bonding. And if you haven't seen the clip on it on social, just go back and read the comments because I was honestly like on the ground in stitches laughing at how relatable Kristen Press was with her answers about team bonding.
It turns out everyone hates their coworkers.
I mean, it was funny and like relatable across like everything, not just sports. So we are going to try this one again.
Okay, so
are you going to explain the segment?
Sure.
Okay.
Red card. Okay, so we're going to have a topic, which we'll reveal soon. Red card, yellow card, goal. We are determining what we like, what's like lukewarm, and what rocks.
Yeah. We're like essentially like refereeing a topic.
Okay, so today's topic is women athletes changing their last name on their jersey.
Oof.
Just initial thoughts. You can throw out a red, a yellow, a goal. Where do you want to start?
I'm just going to warm up a little.
Okay, I'll start.
Okay.
Red card to anyone who has an opinion about what any woman does with her name.
Fair.
But the yellow card is going to me because I'm about to be very hypocritical. I have lots of opinions on this topic.
I just love this.
Okay, are you going to give out any cards?
I feel like I'm like
just the cheerleader.
No,
I'm the ref and
you know
you're
what?
the fan.
I'm the fourth referee in this one. I feel like I am just watching the game.
Okay, well, what do you think?
Okay, honestly, I love what you said to begin with. Let's just like put that up on the pedestal. But I love
but you also have a lot of opinions.
But it bothers me, okay? It really bothers me. I think that I don't understand. Honestly, if even let's just take away like jerseys, I don't understand this whole like status quo where women just take their husband's names.
It's for the children.
Let's do it for the children. I think like two people coming together like in whatever way like have autonomy over like their lives, their names, their decisions, and you're coming together, and I think it's a really cool place to start a relationship, having a genuine conversation as equal parts to a relationship of what we want that to be. And look, there's a lot of like social pressure to do what's expected, but I think one of the coolest parts even like in our own relationship is like actually just having to ask a question.
Okay.
And having to talk about it.
One of the most brilliant parts of lesbianism is
I love that you're wearing glasses for this.
Yes.
Now we're going into lesbianism.
Oh my God, it's dead. Is the intentionality that you get to bring and you get to redefine every part of your relationship. So for all you heterosexuals out there, what we are potentially proposing is that you bring the spirit of lesbianism into your own relationship and just think about why you're doing the weird things that you're doing. So yes, you want the kids to have the same last name. Understood. But at least have a conversation. If the woman is the one where everyone actually knows her name, she's actually selling merchandise with her name on it.
Yep.
Maybe that should be the name that continues and goes down in the family.
Yeah. And I think that like where I think people will be like, we did have a conversation.
That's good.
Which is
and
great.
Power to them.
But I just want to say this. Until there are equally as many men's athletes changing their names to their wives, this is obviously something that is just not happening. And also, if the women's athlete is better than the men's athlete. I think it should just come down to stats.
I agree. This is data-driven decisions.
Yes,
that's what we say here at
data-driven
Ring.
decisions. Yeah.
Okay, so yellow card going to women athletes that changed their last name on their jersey after they've had a very intentional conversation with their husband, and then they get more jersey sales because everyone has to go out and rebuy their jersey.
Ooh, there could be a financial move here.
So that's a yellow card. And a goal goes to
love
lesbians. The Recap Show is proud to be an Intuit QuickBooks partner, an end-to-end business platform helping small businesses grow. From athletes to everyday small business owners, QuickBooks has you covered to help tell your story. Today, we are joined by English international and NWSL star midfielder, Katie Zelem. Tobin, let's tell everybody about Zel.
Well, she's our friend. She's our skipper. And she's a pretty incredible footballer.
Let's bring her in.
Let's bring her in. Welcome, Zel!
Yay! Welcome to the show. Finally.
I've been invited.
And you're looking sharp.
Thank you.
Yeah.
New attire, 10 of 4.
Okay, so if you all don't know this, Katie Zelem is one of my best friends.
She's never said that to me.
I'm shocked.
Well, she says that about me all the time.
Oh
she
my
says,
gosh.
best friends every time I see her. Hey, best friend. So then I was like, oh, after she said it like the 4th time, I'm like, oh, I guess this is real.
That's really cute because like Kristen's kind of like no new friends as an adult.
Kind of. I'm extremely like that.
Yeah, she's only made like one serious a friend or couple that's a friend as an adult.
Yeah.
I will say she's made it sound like I've forced it upon her.
Of course.
I think you pulled a Kristen Press on Kristen Press.
Yeah.
Where you manipulated the situation to get what you want. You like just kept saying like putting out into the universe, best friend, best friend, best friend. And then on the recap show, Kristen's all of a sudden, she looks at you and she's like, that's my best friend.
Do you want to know something nice I've never told you?
Yes.
Oh.
Before I came here, I was like talking to Claire. I was like, I'm so happy Kristen's here. Like we've known each other so long. She was like, so we don't really know her. And I was like, what do you mean you don't really know her? She's been in the team for 2.5 years. She was like, well, she's been injured. Like she's kind of keeps herself to herself. And then a few weeks later, Claire was like, I'm so happy you come because now we know the real Kristen.
Oh.
And I was like, that's my Kristen.
And that's the Zell magic.
Yeah.
Honestly, we just got right into it.
We really did.
Because
of me annoying her.
Well, yes, Zell talks a lot and definitely distracts me in the warm-up line every day. Also, this with the thick accent, I don't always know what she's saying. So I'm always like, huh?
But the way that Kristen always describes it is like you're like in the front and like doing the activation, but looking back and talking
That's exactly true. And sometimes we miss the exercise because I'm like, hey, Chris. And then I'm like, oh, did you see that one?
Yeah, and I'm going a little deaf. So like the whole thing is just like
a little. It's a severe under-exaggeration.
But I will say that the whole thing kind of lends itself to one of the first things that we figured out about you. So we met Zell at Manchester United right in the thick of COVID. We went over with very little notice and didn't do all of like the normal like introduction and understanding of the team. At the time, we all had a very special team, a lot of up-and-coming players that are now well-known but weren't then. And right away, we could tell that you had like a very special quality as a leader and you were a unifier. So even when it's funny because now I'm home at Angel City, she still found a way to like bring me into the team a bit more.
Yeah.
And I think there's a really special quality that you have as a human being that you bring to soccer that unites the team and gets everybody on board.
Thanks, guys. Is that the first time I've ever been speechless?
Oh my gosh, are you?
That was so kind.
But it's so true.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I feel like I'm just a really chatty person and like sometimes I don't really notice, but I'm like, sometimes my banter's a bit misaimed, as we can probably conquer. But after a while, people get used to it and then everyone's like, brought together by it.
Yeah.
I think it's so powerful too, because if you look at the Angel City team, like the variety now, especially the whole NWSL has gotten so much younger, and you have this way of like being able to transcend like the ages, the different parts of the world. Like I feel like you're just, you're a connector, a unifier.
And what we talked about was when we got to United, Tobin and I were both the captains of our club teams before that. And so we went over, and then you were our captain. And there was something that was so amazing about it. And I think your style of leadership is actually quite different from which you are now experiencing, the American rah-rah style of leadership. But will you tell us a little bit about how you view leadership and kind of how you approach that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny for me because I've had like different journeys of leadership. Like when I first became the captain at United, I was like 22 maybe, like really young. And you know me, I'm quite direct, quite straight talking, like you've met my dad, which is the number one reason. So I kind of approach it like, I'll just tell everyone what needs to be done. And then after a few weeks, I was like, this isn't going to work. Like people don't like that. Like they don't want to be shouted at, or not everyone receives information like I do. And then it becomes so apparent so quickly that the more you got to know people, like the more receptive they were of information. And I think for me, like bringing everyone together and making everyone feel like no matter their role in the team, they were like had a voice or like could give their opinion was like so important to the team. And not everybody can play, but that doesn't mean that everyone shouldn't be valued, you know?
Yeah. And we came to that team, I feel like, at a really special time because, as I said, you all were like kind of young or off the radar. And right when we got there and right after, all of you kind of blew up. Obviously, like football in your whole country blew up. England won the Euros. A lot of the United players that you really led and mentored were on that squad. Then obviously you went on to be in the World Cup, a World Cup finalist. What do you think it was about that team and that time period in England where everything shifted?
I think winning the Euros was like a huge factor. Like it really brought the attention like to football in England, and winning a home Euros, you know, makes it even more special. So then like the viewing figures went up, like people became household names, like Alessia, Tooney, like now everyone knows them. You see like little boys and girls with their names on the shirts, like they're not just another person in the street now. Like that has become so normal in England for the women's national team to have grown. And I think it's funny because when you two came over, everyone was like in awe. And like when we had gym, everyone would be like, what are them two doing? And you was usually on the leg pumps.
That was just me, that Tobin.
Recovering.
Yeah, and we were like, we want to do recovery. Casey was like, no, lift weights. We were like, fine. But I think it took like a couple of years, and then post-COVID, obviously, it just went huge. Like people started playing in the men's stadiums, like the national team started seeing a lot more success. Like Serena took charge, and it brought like a big winning mentality to England that like even in the Champions League, it was like Chelsea were getting closer. Like now all three English teams are still in the Champions League. And it just kind of went from like leapt higher, you know, to the standard it's at now.
And did you feel proud of all your teammates when you watched that Euros? And like some of them are your best friends, but also you played such a big role in their footballing careers.
So what's really funny about that Euros is I did the whole prep camp up until the Euros, and like didn't have a summer holiday.
And you love your holiday.
My son. And like trained the whole way up with the squad, and there was 28 or 30 of us. And then the day before they played Portugal, it was for the last prep camp, Serena picked the squad and I wasn't in it. And to be honest, now looking back, like so naively of me, I was like really confident that I was going to go. So it was like a double whammy, you know, because I'd like been in all the training sessions thinking like, oh, I've like done well here. Like, and then I go in the room and she had the saddest face I've ever seen. So I was like, oh, this doesn't look like it's going to go that well. Obviously didn't get picked. So then I left, and within a week they started the Euros and I was sat watching. So it was funny because the first couple of games I actually didn't watch because it was so sad. And I was like, oh my God, a week ago I was sat with all them in the changing room So then I went on holiday and then I got back and then ended up doing some work. And I think I just got over it, you know, like 2 weeks later, I was like, they're my friends more than my teammates. And like watching the final, you know, I'm not really a crier. I had like a little tear in my eye.
Wow.
Like watching, like obviously Alessia, Toonie, Mary, even like Kira, Leo, I'd grown up with since I was like 14. So it was like so special watching them all lift the trophy. And I remember I went out before the game and all the girls knew I was going and they was like all waving to me in the stand. And then I was like, oh, that's my girls over there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
And complicated too, because like we've all kind of been a part of those like moments, and that's like the story of a footballer. Like these are complicated emotions, right? Where like you're like, oh, I want to be on the field, like I want to be winning. I wasn't chosen, but like I'm so excited for my teammates, and also like home Euros, like this is gonna be so great for the sport, but I also wish I was a part of that. And like that's every footballer's like real experience.
Yeah.
You know? That's football.
And I feel like nobody really sees that side of it. Like everyone was just like, how excited are you? And I was like, I've just been binned. Like, I was like, you're so excited. But like for obviously a couple like days, weeks, whatever, it takes a bit of time, you know, and like it's the harsh reality of like being so close, but yet like I've not got a medal, I've not got anything, you know, to like show from it. And I'm so happy that happened for England and women's football, but everyone wishes they were part of it, you know?
Yeah, and I think I've also learned like from a winning mentality, like you ended up winning from the team winning, like even though you weren't there, like because then you all went on to have a World Cup run that you were a part of. And then, you know, club pay goes up, fans go up. So in a weird way, the thing about sports is it's like success helps so many people and you're like on the team outside the team there. And so of course it's bittersweet. But I think what we've seen is like people play really, really hard roles for the team to win, self-sacrificial roles. And it seems like in the Euros, obviously you did that. You helped prep the team up to the last second. But you also had told me a story similar in the World Cup about your role and, you know, when you weren't playing and when you're playing. Do you want to just give us a little bit of context of what your journey in the World Cup was?
Yeah. So first of all, I was so excited to go to the World Cup. It was like my first major tournament, going to Australia. I'd never been. I was like so excited. And to be honest, going into the tournament, I probably knew I wouldn't play much. Like Kira was the starting six and she fully deserved that. She'd had such a great season. So she was starting, like, the team stayed pretty consistent in the Euros. Every single game of the Euros was the same. In the World Cup, like there was a couple injuries, couple formation change. So Kira ended up getting injured in the game before the China game, who it actually escapes me who we were playing.
The power of the World Cup right there.
Yeah. But in the China game, we changed formation and made a few tweaks. So I started, and it was actually the first ever game I'd started for England.
Wow.
In a World Cup. Yeah. So I was a little bit nervous. My dad has a bad hip, so didn't fly to Australia. So like all the girls' family was there, and like I had girls there that like Ellie Roebuck, Lotta Wubamai, and we were really close, and everyone was like really supportive whether you were playing or not. So played that game against China, we won. Go through to the next round. Thankfully Kira was okay, so she came back in for the Nigeria game. But it went to extra time, and then it went still 0-0.
Wow.
And it was Kira's knee that she'd hurt, and she could start feeling it like coming to extra time. So I could tell she was like, it was getting a bit sore. So 119th minute, she came off. So I'm thinking, oh my God, 119th minute. Right, hopefully there's a bit of extra time so I can hit the ball or something. Literally run onto the pitch. No sooner is there like a goal kick, I've jogged around a little bit, and the whistle went. So I never touched the ball.
Oh my
and
gosh.
It was penalties.
Oh my gosh.
And then I seen the penalty sheet. I was like having a little nosy, you know.
Of course you were.
Yeah, I love a nosy. And I'd seen it like cross Kira's name off, and then it's like was my name, and I was sixth. So Kira was obviously going to take the sixth penalty, but her knee, so she had to come off. So I went on. And I was like, oh, you know what? I take penalties all the time. Like, it's just another penalty. Like,
that's what you thought
Were you tricking yourself, or was that how you were actually feeling?
No, every time I go into a penalty, I think I'm going to score.
Yeah, and you do.
It's funny because I've always been so confident taking penalties. Like, there's one time I second guessed myself and I missed.
Yep.
And I will never do that again. Like, I know where I'm going to put it, what I'm going to do. And for maybe 3 years, I went the same way on every single penalty. And I always scored. And someone come up to me and was like, I think you should start going the other way. And I was like, maybe you're right, actually. So then I started practicing both ways and I was like, oh, should have done this earlier. But to be honest, I was also kind of thinking, like, is it going to get to 6? Like, like we had really good penalty takers, to be honest. So if it did get 6, maybe I would have been like, oh, shit. Like, now I'm not feeling so confident. But one of the girls had like not played many minutes either and had come on as sub, and she was number 2 penalty taker.
Oof.
And like I say, she'd not played that much. Like she wasn't probably expecting to ever take a penalty.
Yeah.
And she come up to me and she's like, Del, I don't know if I want the penalty.
Oof.
And I knew she was a really good penalty taker.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? If you want it, she was like, will you switch? I was like, if you want to switch with me, then we can. But have a think about it and let me know. Because I was like...
Because you have so much time to think about it in a World Cup.
Take your time. Yeah. But I was like, she's a good penalty taker, you know. Yeah. It was just like second out. And then I went, she came back over, whatever happened. And she was like, I'm going to take it. I was like, you're going to score. And she stepped up to that. We missed the first penalty. So it was Stanway who scored every penalty. I've never seen her miss. Yeah. And she normally hits the ball harder than I could ever wish to hit it. Like, she buries them. And she missed. So the next penalty takes her up and she hit it top corner. And everyone was screaming. And she ran back and her face was like, the biggest smile I've ever seen. And we went on to win. Chloe Kelly scored the winning penalty. Yeah. So I never took one.
Yeah.
I was sick.
But you kind of did. And honestly, this is it. But this is, to me, like such a powerful story, because when you watch the World Cup, when you're watching the penalties, you just see like the movie part of it. You don't see the behind the scenes to get to like that. And that is almost like, that is the secret of all the things that then like everybody sees on TV, was that story that you just said. Like, that is the secret that goes on behind the scenes in football that makes like successful teams.
Yeah, you're right. I think that is the thing about sport. You see like the end product, you see the result, you see the goal scorer, but like we know in our changing room, there's so much that goes on to get to the point that everybody else sees. And most of it is like an unwritten rule or like stuff that would never come out, you know, into the public. And it's kind of funny when you talk to other players about like, oh, this is really happening, you know, or like this happened before. And it's like, oh, I did like, that is the total opposite to how it came across.
And those stories are so much better. Like that story that you just told, like it was cool that you guys won in penalties. That story was way, way better. Like, I'm watching a movie, I want that version of it.
Well, it's also like, think of Zell. Like, you are one of the most competitive people, and like you have a winning mentality that I actually think is probably not emblematic of England as much as we as America think of that as us, right? And so for you to even be in that role where you're like making sure your teammate's okay so she can do it, and you have to like step aside or you have to play this different role, and you did it with so much dignity, it's like that is winning mentality. And it's like when sports asks you to rise above what you are and say like, okay, go even deeper. Now you have to just put your arm around your teammate and make sure she knows she can do it.
Even though you can do it and you want to do it.
Even though you want to do it.
Yeah.
And if we think back on our world championships, it's like, those are the moments I remember when we did these like little things for each other that outside of that 4-week period, I never would have done.
So true.
Okay, so
wait, can I get somewhere?
Yes, you can.
I want to. So, Zell, you've now like transitioned obviously to the NWSL from the WSL. But can we go back to when we basically made the move from, you know, the NWSL soccer in the US over to Manchester? And I want to hear Zell tell us a story maybe of what did you think when you had heard that we were coming / like, do you have a story of when we first got there that maybe surprised you about us, or like from the way that you had never probably played with American players before, right? Like that maybe how we were different, or what was like the cultural maybe differences between like when we got there. Do you have any stories?
Yeah.
That are PG?
Does she have any stories?
I know, she's like,
how long have we got?
yeah, she's like, how many do you want?
I was wondering if you wanted the pizza story.
No, not the pizza story. That was a cultural difference.
What was really funny is obviously everybody knew of you, but what really was funny to me was how opposite you two were on the pitch. You know, and like I guess we always knew of like Christen Press and Tobin Heath, but never had like studied you play, or like we just knew that you scored all the goals and you were so techie. And then when you come, we were like, oh my God, they're so different in like how they play. And like, it's funny because I imagine you to be the opposite. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, I don't think I've ever said this yet.
No.
I imagined you to be the exact opposite. Like I thought, Chris, you would be like, yeah, like if the ball comes, it comes. No, Kristen's like, give me the ball, like play me in behind. And you were just like, I'm here on the wing. Actually, Tobin barked at everyone. Do you remember?
Yeah.
I did what?
You barked.
Oh, yeah.
And everyone was like, is there a dog on the pitch?
Oh my God. I tell her that all the time.
Yeah,
She'd go,
bird call.
sometimes. And I'm like, what is that? And that was her just trying to get the ball.
Yeah.
But you're much more relaxed, you know.
It didn't
like,
work as well as when Christen asked for the ball.
you know, everyone was petrified. And then she was offside.
I'm just barking on the side.
Yeah, you're back and she's offside. Thinking, what have we signed them for?
So cruel.
These noisy Americans.
What actually did surprise me was obviously we knew you were like winners, and everything that you did, you wanted to win. And I think we had the idea of like every American is just like killing themselves in training and like lifting loads of weights, and like you would be doing laps around the pitch at the end of training. And then we seen you and we're like, oh my God, like they're the opposite. Like they're winning, but they know how to win in their own way. And like, I remember you saying to the team actually, like, why are you all doing this on a Monday and Tuesday? Like, you need to be fit on a Sunday. And we'd get to Sunday and we'd all be knackered because we'd been like sprinting around doing extras, and you two were so fresh. And then we were all like, oh, we need to like start taking a leaf out of their book. And it was funny because we used to have optional extras, like optional running that we all thought wasn't optional. And you two really changed that for us because you were like,
We made it optional.
yeah. You really solidified the word optional, which for us, we were like, oh, if we don't do it, we're not going to play, or like, it's a test. And then we could be like, Tobin and Christen didn't do it. And it not just on the pitch, but I think off the pitch, it made everybody grow up and become more professional. Like, own what they wanted to do themselves. Like, you open everyone's eyes to what's best for you, like not what you think you should be doing.
Yeah.
And it was kind of funny because we didn't know how you would be, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes that's the hardest thing, is to say no. And like ultimately, and like obviously we all had like our peaks and valleys in a career, but ultimately when you say no in sports, then you have to be really good. Like if you don't do the running, then you better score on the weekend, right? And then you don't. And then that's how it becomes okay. And so I feel like working smart is like something that you earn over time. And because we were also older, that was like how I feel about it. It wasn't like we were working less, it was working smarter.
Yeah.
But if you then drop the ball, you better just work hard.
Like winning doesn't mean doing more.
Yeah. But you had the confidence to say no because you were so confident in your own ability.
Exactly. That I could do it.
Exactly. And you were so confident that you were a winner and you knew what it took to win. Whereas none of us at United like had won anything, you know, like we'd been in the lower league, we'd like come up, and like people had won at other teams and in different environments, but we hadn't won anything at United. So it was kind of like the unknown for people of like, when can you say no? And like, what does it take to win?
Yeah. Well, I will say I started off asking if, you know, how you felt about your own relationship with your teammates, who all of you have gone on just and grown so much since you were there. But I can tell you that Tobin and I had a very special relationship watching England, which is usually a team I would really be rooting very hard against.
We're not in the competition, so we could be very...
But when we weren't in the competition, there was like you know, something in our heart because it was like all of our teammates and you all grew up so fast. And it really did feel like that was like right when we were there. And, you know, now what an absolute joy that you're here in my hometown, from your hometown to my hometown. So we're going to play a little game. Did you like
games?
Wait, did you like that transition?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good.
This is called NWSL or WSL.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Katie Zelem edition.
Yeah. So the hard thing about this is that you have to zoom out from United versus Angel City, but who knows if you can? So just answer to this.
Yeah.
Tobin?
Okay. Who has louder fans?
NWSL. Oh, you know, am I allowed to expand?
Yes.
That was hard because the Man United fans are really loud.
They're really good.
But if I'm just going to go like general, because I think Man United have the best fans. But then at home, well, now I just called it home. Angel City.
Oh my God, that's so cute.
It was like 20,000, you know, so it's like a huge attendance. And I think when we played Portland away, that was like crazy.
Yeah, American fans, they love goals and yellow cards.
And drums.
And sometimes corners.
Well,
They
that's just
cheer
because
really loud for the corners.
That's because we
corners
get
are
paid to
sponsored.
take corners. I'm kind of trying to get a cut of that, actually.
Depends on the service.
Yeah.
Okay. Who has a more entertaining style of play?
Katie Zelem answering this question. WSL. The general fan answering this question, NWSL.
Ooh.
Is that
Okay.
fair?
That's fair. Who provides better pregame and postgame food?
Am I going to get sacked?
Oh my gosh, you're
was
so
gonna-
nervous.
I think I would say Manchester United. I
was
loved
gonna
their food.
I was going to go with neither.
Oh.
I know, is that a harsh one?
No, I think
No.
that's good.
No, I will say, Chef Jimmy, if you ever watch this, you are unbelievable. You two never got to experience Chef Jimmy and he's amazing.
No.
But he doesn't cook the food for after the game, so
Bad and bad.
yeah.
Fair.
Unless it's Chef Jimmy.
Okay, who has more business opportunities off the field?
NWSL.
Ooh.
A firm one.
Yeah.
I feel like America, like I can see why they say that it's a land of dreams. Is that even what they say?
The American dream.
Oh yeah, that's it.
You guys, I got you.
Got it. You know, the American dream. I feel like everyone here is so like inspired to do something. Whereas at home it's like people don't take as many risks. Whereas here it's like, oh well, he's a millionaire, so I can be. You know, it's very like nobody is like embarrassed or holds back on like trying to do things.
I love
Well,
that.
that's also because we have to pay for healthcare and education. So
Very true.
Yeah.
So we're all like, we need money.
Yeah. Good job I get dentist at home.
Wow. Yeah. Good one.
Okay, do you feel like for your own personal business that you have more opportunities now that you're in LA?
I think if I put some more time and effort into it, so if anyone wants to hit me up, I'm ready. Then potentially, yeah. I think it's maybe going to be like a bit growing pains for me because obviously a lot of my following is still in England. The majority of people that follow me on social media stuff is because I was a Man United captain. So hopefully over time, like I will become more established in the league and then that would become easier.
Yeah, I was thinking just out loud right now, like you could target English brands that want a more American presence.
That is a very good idea.
Yeah.
I love that.
That's why she's a co-founder.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. Who is more likely to sign a star in their prime?
WSL.
Plus one.
I didn't know.
You didn't?
I didn't know.
I
what
thought it was a
anyone
pretty
was
You're
gonna
not very
obvious.
good at this game.
Well, they didn't make it for me.
There's no actual answer.
Oh, yeah, but we like to be right.
But we're right.
We just decided if you two agree, then it's right.
Exactly,
Yeah, okay.
2v1.
Yes.
Okay, which league appears to you to have more financial backing right now?
NWSL. And the reason I'm going to say that is because all the teams are like standalone teams and they financially can support themselves. I think the salary cap like kind of skews the vision on it because it limits to what clubs could spend. And if you look at like Chelsea, for example, their spending is extremely high and they can afford to do that. But the money that it's coming from is like usually the men or like the club in general, you know, rather than just the women's team. Whereas obviously Angel City's valuation is crazy. And when you think about it, we're just one team. Like if you look at Manchester United, there's the women, there's the whole women's academy, there's the men, the whole men's academy, like all the communities, all everything. So all that organisation is for like so many teams. And I actually think sometimes about this, like whenever we see all the staff at Angel City, I'm like, you're just all here for us. Just us 25 people, like cluelessly running around. And you're all here to help what we're doing.
Yeah, that's powerful.
Well, that makes the prior question really obvious as to why the WSL signing players in their prime because of the salary cap.
Yep. You got there.
Figured it out. You again, Tobin.
Who has better facilities?
This is also quite difficult now because our Angel City facilities are amazing. I can now wave to Christen across the changing room. Like before I could touch her. And now I have to wave to her.
That must kill you.
Yeah, I hate it. Sometimes I go and sit next to her.
Yeah, she does.
I give her
I see her just like waving to you the whole time.
Sometimes I get involved in her conversations across the changing room.
But she must not be able to hear.
I can't hear hers, but she can hear mine.
True.
You are staring at me though. And I don't know what any other facility in the NWSL looks like, to be honest. Like I guess kind of selfishly, I'm just care what we do. So I've never seen anybody else's facility. So maybe you can take that one.
Well, you also think of away trips. I think it's the NWSL for training facilities. And then like overall experience, yeah, I feel like the WSL, you're bouncing back between your women's stadium and then your like main stadium, right?
Yeah.
And so
I think this is a tough one across both leagues. I think they would
the
both
discrepancies
score.
are so high.
They would both score pretty low based on like, I think there's a couple teams that do it well and then the drop off is substantial. So I'd say both leagues probably need to improve their training facilities / get training facilities.
Yep.
Okay. I solved it. Don't worry.
You should have took that one.
Asked and answered.
Okay. Who will be the bigger league in 5 years?
Bigger or better?
I think if the salary cap increases or is demolished some way, NWSL. Because I think that the potential that they have is maybe higher because the country is a lot bigger. The stadiums that most teams are already playing in are a lot bigger. So like our ground is like fitting over 20,000. Even some stadiums we go that maybe aren't full still have a huge capacity. Whereas like you said, unless the women's teams are playing in the men's stadiums, like they're limited to maybe 5,000-6,000. So it's like then you've got to move stadiums and it's going to be a longer process to grow, you know? Whereas I think over here, the foundations are already in place. We just need to grow into them.
Yep. I disagree, but
Would she demolish the salary cap?
I still disagree.
Oh, interesting.
But Christen, press tiebreaker.
I don't know or care as long as we demolish the salary cap.
I want both. Yeah, I want both
That's
to
the
grow.
important part for me. But remember when I asked Siri what the salary cap was in 2030? It's not good enough.
She weren't impressed. And that was the 8th thing she'd asked Siri that day.
Oh, yeah. I know.
You had a wild card question, didn't you?
I have one wild card. Are you ready?
I'm not because I didn't write it down, so I don't know what this is.
Okay.
So ready.
You're good at this because you do this on the field. Like, you played the game before it's happened. Predict the next WSL star to sign in the NWSL.
Sam Kerr.
That was kind of easy. You're smart.
That was a cop-out,
You're right.
really.
You're right, though.
Huh.
She'll come back.
And she's having a baby.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to raise a
That
baby
was
in the
so
sun.
good. You're so clever. I'm so annoyed. I thought I was going to get you.
Okay, one thing that everyone needs to know about Zell is, because you just said this, she plays the game before it happens.
Yeah.
So I stand right behind her in the warm-up line, and we do all these like brain teaser type games where you have to like think and like go right or go left or go up or go back. And she finds the pattern that the coach is calling out, guesses ahead of time, and moves before it's ever called.
Yeah.
And that is her key to being an excellent footballer. And I watch it every day in awe, just thinking like, if my brain worked like that, what could I have been?
Yeah.
But if I was as fast as what you was at, then I could have been that too.
I always like imagining what two players together would be like.
Yeah.
We are very
lot
different.
better.
A lot better. No, I think that's like really interesting because we've talked a lot on this show about like kind of athletes as, their own entrepreneurs or their own business. And a part of like your game and now like knowing you so well, like off the field, is the way that your mind operates and thinks. And we say like, we call you the CFO in our house because you're so meticulous with your finances and with money and with deals. I've never seen anything like it. And honestly, like it translates like on the field in how you play football. Like you're meticulous in the way that you're programmed to almost like anticipate what the game's going to do before it happens. And then that's a way that you're able to play the game at a higher speed. Like that's what I see like when I watch you play football is like you're already moving and predicting before it's happened. Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I do. I feel like, well, as you know, I'm a bit nosy. So I feel like I like to know what's going on. And that kind of translates directly to football.
Yeah.
So like, sometimes I'm just, in the middle, waiting, as we do. And I can just see Christen out here, not in a position.
Yeah.
I'm like, thinking like, Chris, you need to be there because if the ball's going to come here. And I feel like I'm just always ticking along, trying to see what like can help you like save running a bit, like not have to be like making a last ditch tackle or not feeling out of position, And I think for me, like I've never been blessed with Usain Bolt speed. So I've tried to like get around that in other ways of like reading the game well or being like one step ahead of like anticipating what's going to happen next or where I know I'm going to pass it next. And I think I've done that since I was like really young. Yeah. So now it's like kind of normal for me.
Yeah. I love watching it because I just think that like that's a part of like American football that we, for so long didn't value these players that aren't like the quote unquote like best athletes on the team. American football or American soccer is so focused on the athlete and then the football. And I feel like that's one area that I appreciate so much when, you go overseas, you play other places, you play international football, you realize that it's like football first almost. And the football actually makes the athlete and not like vice versa. And that actually like the football can make you a better athlete than just your raw ability.
Well, what I love that you said was like, she related it to like being nosy as a person. Yeah. So then I just imagined you're just like sniffing out what's happening on the field.
Yeah.
Whereas all I'm going is, I don't care what happens until I'm in the final third. Like, I'm like, whatever you guys are doing is a waste of time until it's near the goal because that's where the game's been lost.
Thank goodness. We need some specificity here. Yeah.
Okay, but we're nearing the end. But Tobin brought up that you are honorary CFO. And I may be engaging you soon to review my finances.
Yes.
What makes you good at money? What makes you interested in saving your money?
You know what it is? I really like things to be right. So it's like, I'm not like trying to save money because I'm trying to buy something extravagant, or I'm not like scared to spend money or anything, but I don't like to be done wrong. So like if I'm in the whole saga of my first payments, I was like being overtaxed like a lot. and no one said anything.
Mm.
So, me, got my little pay slips out. And for me, it's like, you should just honour what you've agreed. And it's like, if I've signed that, then I deserve that. And if I signed less, then I deserve less, like, I think it's more about like integrity of like, I want it to be right. And for example, your expenses, like if you can do something to benefit you, then I'm all for that, like I like to keep track of, I'm not even like counting it. I'm just like making sure it's right. And I'll be like really meticulous in where it's going. I'm like, I don't want that to be going to the tax person if it should be going to me or you, and it's like, I just like to know that I'm getting what I deserve.
Yeah, it's almost like financial efficiency.
Yeah.
But you love a deal.
Oh, I do love a bargain. You know who that is? My mum.
Yeah.
My mum's like, get it tomorrow, Katie. It's 2 for 1.
Yeah. But I also think it's financial, like, what did you say? Financial efficiency. But I also find it to be like financial literacy. Because I think like you're treating your job like as a profession. And I think sometimes like
she reads all of the contract.
Yeah, you read the contract, like you know exactly, and then you ask
you knew
questions.
what you should be taxed.
Yeah, but I think you ask questions. I think the smartest people ask questions. So it's like, why did this amount of money get taken out of my payslip? Like what are the taxes here? How does that apply to my contract? And I think like all those things are really important. But like as athletes, we're kind of like, like it just is what it is. I get like my paycheck, but like what you've done is like financial literacy that has made you like, you say, I want it to be right, but you actually like want it to be right, but you also want to be explained.
Yeah.
Like how it works.
What I would say to any person that's going to become professional, like I think money, especially in England, is like a bit of a taboo. So like nobody wants to talk about it. Like obviously here it's like a little bit more open, but no one wants to ask like, why is this money off my contract? Because it's like they're embarrassed.
Yeah.
But I would say to like any young player, like never be afraid to ask because it's not embarrassing at all. Like that's your right to know. And like my first like week here, I was like sending emails or like sending to like some of our staff like, well, what's this coming out? And what's this coming out? Because I didn't even know what it was. And it wasn't like, oh, I think it's wrong. I was just genuinely wanting to know. And that's our right to know.
Yeah, I love that. We should do like a whole financial literacy course that's just like
for athletes.
Zell can run it.
Yeah, so Zell should do it.
Yeah.
Well,
she sets the program.
One day, folks, I think Katie Zelem will be a great CFO of a club or CFO of Re-Inc.
Also, I love that. Definitely. What I would say is like, what do you? I guess like the final question to kind of tie a pretty little bow on this amazing interview. What do you think success looks like for you in your career now, but in the future as well? What does success look like?
Short term, I would love to win something at Angel City.
Let's do it.
I've been at 3 different teams and I've won something at every team I've been at. So
I love that mentality.
Yeah, I don't want this to be the odd one out. So I joined here not just for the amazing weather and to be reunited with you two, but to win something. And in the long term, I've almost completed my master's in business. So I would love to still be involved in football or Re-Inc. Like a CEO role, CFO, head of football, something like that.
I mean, you would be phenomenal.
Thanks.
Phenomenal.
Business of football.
The business of football, like I probably couldn't put like a name, like if you look at the business of football, like Katie Zelem's name is next to it. I will say there's some people, and I hope everybody relates to this, there's some people that you meet and it feels like you knew them in a past life. For Chris and I, especially with you kind of reemerging here in the US, we said to each other, she always felt like somebody that we knew before. So it felt really cool to have you come here to LA and like continue like our friendship.
Yeah, when you signed, she goes, we're going to know her for the rest of our lives, aren't we? And I was like, yeah, I kind of feel like that.
Because you can't get rid of me. And now I come over for sleepovers.
So cool. I love football. Go ahead.
Okay, so you are an incredible footballer and you're showing all of Los Angeles what football's supposed to look like. You are an incredible leader, and we always refer to you as our skipper, and we have since 2020. And you are a delight, and thank you for being on the recap show.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy that I could reunite with you both in LA. Like, as soon as I knew I was signing here, my mum was like, oh my God, it's Tobin and Christen. You're going to have friends already. And now I've not only got a friend, but a great roomie.
Oh, and a best friend.
Once again, we'd like to thank Intuit QuickBooks for their support of the recap show, women's sports, and small businesses everywhere.
Our friends at Amazon Business know the importance of highlighting the business of women's sports. So today, Tobin and I are going to talk about the importance of viewership.
I'm so happy that we're going to talk about this at the beginning of the NWSL season instead of at the end of the NWSL season, because we all know that viewership, the amount of people watching the games, moves the needle in terms of the monetization, the revenue around women's sports.
I might say it's the single most important factor in determining the value of franchises
and
leagues.
Yep. And those are media rights, to be more specific. Currently, as we know, the NWSL lives across, 4-5 different platforms, which can sometimes cause a little viewership friction. Therefore, if you're looking for a helpful tip in where to watch your games, just go on Re-Ink social media, and we always come out with a list of where the games are. I have to go into them multiple times during the weekend to figure out which platform.
Great little resource.
Just a friendly little resource and tip. But back to viewership. Why I'm so excited about talking about it in the beginning of the season is because one of the big metrics for, how much, where viewership stands in a league is the championship game. And that's to see, wow, how much has the league grown year over year? And, the NWSL has ticked up, but it's not growing substantially in viewership. And that's why we are going to put a big effort in today, instead of right before the championship game, to remind people and encourage people to increase their viewership, increase awareness around the matches that are happening. Tell your friends, tell your family, put the dates in your calendars, turn on your televisions, and watch these games, because and start that now, because I'm telling you, if we all commit to it now, the viewership is going to look drastically different for the championship game.
So a couple of things I'd like to add. First of all, I think in business, when we're talking about the business of women's sports, so much about value is about the hype. So each week, if we're getting more and more viewership, those are going to be stats coming out that we're all going to see. Yep. And then we're going to have perspective people with a lot of money seeing those numbers and saying, hey, I want a piece of this, right? Yep. So when you watch, you are adding to the hype and the value and the growth of the game just in that.
Yep.
Obviously, the other side of it is we're trying to change a culture. So right now in the US, most people have men's sports running on all the time. That's the house I grew up in. That's the house you grew up in, right? And I think that there's an opportunity for us Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and even some Mondays, just turn on the TV. Turn on the NWSL, because the more you familiarize yourself with the players, the teams, the rankings, the more interesting it gets. Yep. So start now, start early, watch women's sports, watch women's soccer. There's so many amazing storylines happening in our league. Great young players emerging and making names for themselves. Yep. So it's a lot of fun. Yep. Changing the culture when you do it.
Yep. And every frustration you have where you say, why can't they pay the players more? Viewership. Watch the games. That's how the players will get paid more. Every business starts with an idea. How can you go from daydreamer to industry leader? Amazon Business accelerates your journey. With smart business buying, get everything you need to grow in one familiar place. From office supplies to IT essentials and maintenance tools, Amazon Business takes the buying experience you know and love from Amazon, plus the tools that help you save costs and make insight-based decisions. Ready to bring your visions to life? Learn how at amazonbusiness.com.
And now it's time for everyone's favorite segment, but I don't know if it's still everyone's favorite segment.
Why?
Because we have so many good segments.
Oh my gosh, that's so real.
But everyone's former favorite segment, community questions. I will kick this off.
It's so good that you're wearing those glasses so that you can read the cards well.
Oh, this would have been a great look for Judge Christen. It's not happening today. Okay. Jamie from Minnesota wants to know, what were your best and worst subjects in school?
Ooh, good one. Okay.
Best subject, soccer.
I don't want to I was like a very chill student. Like, you know, as long as I didn't it's not like I was bringing home like, I'm not an A+ student, but I'm certainly not like a C student. I was like, you know, B's. And I like totally was under the radar.
No one asked what. Oh, I guess she did.
I'm getting
ask.
there.
Okay.
I'm getting there.
Okay. Like, you're oversharing here. I had a GPA.
What I wanted to say is that I was like solid. Like no worry. Parents didn't have to worry. Did my homework. You know, stayed in school. But at the end of the day, chemistry got the best of me in high school. And I don't want to say it was the subject matter because I'm very interested in chemistry. But especially with my matchmaking, which is probably the problem. But I will say that, chemistry got me and everything else was just chill.
I would say that school was not incentivizing enough for you.
No.
I think you would have been A+ student if they allowed you to think a little bit more outside the box.
I agree. Montessori school was my jam.
Yeah, that's when you were
that was
thriving.
Peak Tobin Heath in school.
Age 4.
Age 4. All right. Jillian from New Zealand wants to know, recently there's been a trend going on with people showcasing their emergency contacts. Out of the two of you, who do you think is better in an emergency and why? Ooh.
Okay, that was informative. I've missed this trend.
Community questions is also the news.
I will look this up after the episode. I am better in an emergency. It was funny.
Hello,
I feel like
pan to me.
I feel like my saliva got stuck in my throat. So like now it seems like I was lying. Let me say that again. I am better in an emergency.
I hope that just like hurt people's ears and they were like, that doesn't sound to be true.
You know it's true. Don't be persona. I'm a host of a show.
You know what
Tobin.
I'm going to say is you are phenomenal in an emergency. But can you remember Tobin Heath running down the beach for you?
Oh my god!
In an emergency.
You're right.
That's it, folks.
We don't have enough time for that story.
This is why we don't do the daily debate anymore. But I will say, I think actually both of our qualities were phenomenal in emergencies. We actually take on these like kind of alter egos in a little way where like we both become like very chill and very like matter of fact.
Actually,
how do we survive?
Well, I have 2 comments. 1, this was my community question.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
And 2, I become more calm and you become more meticulous. So I feel like we both like level set.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, you know, always in a kind of a general state of panic. And then I'm like, oh, actual crisis, cool, calm, collected. Yeah. And you're like always like in a state of like overly chill, like halfway asleep, people think. And then you're like, oh, crisis, let's get a checklist going. Yeah. And then you're the one who actually has the emergency box.
Yeah. Yeah.
When the LA fires hit, we had an emergency box in the car that we just took out and it had Cheetos in it.
Yeah, we're at the store, like getting like the essentials, like water and batteries, and Kristen's like Cheetos.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Just like make sure that there's some comfort, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, that isn't funny, so we might have to cut it, but it is funny.
Jordan from Alabama asks, what is your favorite room in the house? Oh, great question, Jordan.
The whole house. Every square foot. And even the non-permitted sections. Okay, one thing I will tell you is my friends at Plunge sent us a plunge sauna, and we turned our outdoor carport into a spa, and it's going to be hard to ever have a space that I like more than our outdoor spa. Has an outdoor shower.
Yeah. We
put all these new plants there. It's a beautiful thing.
It's a vibe. Can I answer?
No!
Yeah. because I feel like you're gonna change your mind. But okay, so the front area of our house gets like a lot of light, and we made made a conscious decision not to put a television in like a sitting area. And we went back on and forth on this decision, and really, it's a special area because there are no devices in it, and the couches look at each other, and we call it the conversation couch.
Which is very Harry Potter, right?
I don't know.
Is that where we got it?
No, but there's something like that. I would have to turn on my Harry Potter part of my brain to figure it out.
Not for now.
So the conversation couches are really special because it's a place that like I feel like we've had just like some awesome conversations together and with friends, but it's just a very intentional space.
You know what?
And
I'll
it also
say?
has plans.
All of the decisions around the house have been such languishing debates. Should we get a TV? And then it's so obvious.
It's so
Should
obvious.
we create a fireplace? Well, yes. TV? No. Every choice we've made is just there's something magical about the bungalow. It speaks to us.
Yeah. Ugh, the bungalow, so good.
Well, thank you all for your questions. We love you all very much. We appreciate you participating in our show. Thanks for listening, and like, subscribe, and all the things. Want more of the recap show brought to you by Intuit QuickBooks? Like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts.